Hello there and welcome back to War Thunder, and I'm again in the Russian light cruiser, the Krasny Kavkas. But in this battle we will discuss one particular aspect, or a combination of some aspects that come with big ships and big guns. So first of all, I like the changeover, I like the diversity in the game, and I think I have not praised Gaishin for the things that it right. There are so many good things that I expected in the beginning that I was like so angry about the stuff that they did wrong, that come after years and years of development and shouldn't be a problem, yet they are. If you put them aside, what we have is a lot of promising stuff, and especially when we talk about some reserve ships that have a single 50 caliber or a couple of machine guns from 50mm cannons to then something like the LCS, to bring that into battle with smaller destroyer, bigger destroyers, up to light cruisers, is already something that is an amazing concept, that is promising and full of diversity. Much like that. He didn't like the diversity of my 180mm high explosive shell, I guess, but you know, he's also in a Russian destroyer. I'm sorry about this, that it is yet another Soviet vessel that I will cover this week, but usually it just isn't that I do not cover that many Russian ships or tanks or planes overall. But it just happened to fall together with the Russian Navy and the IS-7. So I'm sorry about this, you have to endure it. So, talking about this, what we have now, and this is why I actually make the video, is this fight here against another Russian light cruiser, and we will see some laboratory conditions. First of all, we go on a parallel course. After a few salvos, I will have the range set down, I will do continuous corrections, and I will get in the hits. First off with just high explosive and then armor piercing, and we'll just see how long it takes with just gunfire to sink an enemy light cruiser. It will take a lot of time, and that brings me to another aspect. Lots of people just don't like the Navy section, and I can say, okay, I accept that you don't like it, but they don't like it because they're bound to small vessels, and that brings us then to the initial point, the not working game mechanics. Look, here we have the aiming system, and it works perfectly well with ships. I think it's good, it's really great. You know, leading the ships yourself, estimating the range corrections, aiming for specific parts. Then we still have some natural dispersion of the guns, but not with an insane RNG factor at the moment compared to World of Warships, although it's debatable. And then we have the various different damaging aspects. That brings us then to big guns. Now already there is what I tried to tell you, a difference between an alpha strike, you know, the single shell damage output, or the damage output from a single salvo or broadside from a ship, versus, you know, that you continue taka a ship to death. We will see more on this later on, but for now you can see that I hit him with high explosive shells and I actually make him flood. He's down to 79%, he was previously down to 77% buoyancy, sorry about this, and I just rip big holes into his side, and this is the point where water enters. He has to counter that with damage control, pumping out the water, and that is just a lot of micromanagement. But it's understandable, it's logic, and it's somewhat realistic. And you know, those big guns, if you see the big impact holes, if you see that the enemy is flooding, that is amazing. If you see the ships listing. Now I'm taking out of this equation here any sort of torpedo attacks, any sort of bomb runs, suicide attacks in particular. Just the gunfire aspect already is an amazing part. And you can see it takes a long time. Actually, he's not shooting me, he's shooting the destroyer in front of me. So I have now a lot of time to get in the hits, experiment here with switching to armor piercing and just get in good hits. And as we can see, 4 shots out, and I think 2 of them hit. And actually you can shoot partially through water and still enter the enemy ship, which is excessively damaging against destroyers when they're bowing and so forth. But let's just concentrate here. Oh, those were multiple hits. But I just don't cut down the crew, so the armor protection that absorbs the shrapnels, various different armored decks that also absorb here the high explosive damaging effect, they keep a lot of crew alive. And so already I'm thinking to myself, well, where can I hit him with which ammunition type to cut down the crew? Can I hit now the front of the ship to make him flood faster? How is the damage control working out for him? All those questions I still have to learn. Eventually I might kill him or do at least severe damage to him. Very often there's also the option to then go in such a situation for the Emmerich, which I deliberately did not do here, although I knocked 3 out of the 4 turrets out. So also going for specific parts of an enemy ship is a viable option. Now I switch to my secondaries, the 6 100mm batteries, because it's just 0% crew left, so the next damaging hit will take him out, and of course it's not mine, but from the destroyer. Yeah. But now let's switch here to the patrol boats that are to my left. We'll see in a moment, and you can see then some very, let's say, very lucky marksmanship, although you cannot have that much luck. Maybe this hit was lucky, right? Yeah, let's see how it continues. So what I like about this particular ship, as I said, is the combination of big heavy guns, the Alpha Strike, and then the DPM from smaller guns, and they just do their job. And you do not have to wait for that long to rotate the turrets to then engage the opposition. The problem of the secondaries here is that they are only high explosive, and so when you want to destroy a patrol boat that's going bow in, or the destroyer that has a little bit of armor like the Fletcher, where you then want to kill the internal components and the crew, then you might have some difficulties. You can shoot around it, harvest the bow and the stern section with the crew inside, which sounds pretty rough, I know, but you can kill them nevertheless. Maybe not so easy. So on the Emden again, which is the German counterpart, you have many more options. You can research the armor piercing with the 105s, although you have just a third per broadside of the amount of guns. But then you have all around 15 centimeter guns, and they are also very effective of flooding enemy ships to death. Now I come under heavy fire, and you can see how long it takes for me to re-engage the enemy. Even with the secondaries, the turret rotation speed is not the fastest. Same goes for the main batteries, by the way. And it always makes is an experience thing how you engage which target at which distance under which circumstances with which armament type. And that brings us now to the big ships. So as we could see with the other cruiser, he was like taking a lot of time. And that's one of the aspects. He was taking a lot of time to be gunned down. And that was definitely not a bad shot. I took and I hit him with, you know, the biggest guns currently in the game. So when we talk about bigger ships like heavy cruisers that have even more armor, that are even larger, take more time to flood, or have more protected Emmerachs or magazines as they're called on ships, then we need also more room to maneuver. We need longer combat distances, up to 20 kilometers where the ships spawn from each other. And to cover this distance takes a while. And that then makes those ships irrelevant for the outcome of the battle. Because as you can see, the entire 10 minutes that I'm now talking, it took me to get close to B, and I'm not even really about to capture it. Now my propulsion is partially knocked out, and I'm now in a close quarter scenario with a light cruiser that is a long-range specialist. So the circumstances are not the greatest. I don't want to be in this situation, but I need to go into B to secure the win, and we'll see how close we come to actually losing, despite me getting all the kills, killing patrol boats, cruisers, destroyers, all alike. I did my job in combating the enemy's fleet, and yet we are about to lose because the capture zone game mode is just not very well suited for the bigger ships that are smaller. I made the same experience in the KMS Emden. You make all the kills, you have all the great things going for you, but you just don't win the games that you should win. Even when you have up to 10 kills and multiple of them are on destroyers and enemy cruisers, you still lose the game because your patrol boats just still lose. They're outnumbered and you cannot really deal with them unless they come to you, because they can hide, they can just run away, and they can ambush you. And to root out a patrol boat in a light cruiser in a maneuvering fight is not the world's greatest thing to do, believe me that. So we need a change in map design, a change in game mode, but the thing is there, it is exciting, it's awesome to use those big guns in a straight on head-on firefight. Now another thing is very amusing here, and now it becomes apparent. There is a torpedo warning. 4 torpedoes are coming my direction. I'm turning away, making the angle short on the first one, but the second one hits the stern, but I'm angled actually, so I take actually no damage from 3 torpedoes. But if you think that's all the fun there is, oh no. And this PR-159 is really upset, I guess. I would be after this result. And now an aircraft crashes, a Focke-Wulf, I just killed him, and that's a 1-ton bomb. Oh god, I'm on fire. A gun turret is knocked out, propulsion is knocked out, and all the torpedo tubes have exploded, and yet I'm not flooding. So again, Gaijin has to retweak here a little bit of the damage models, and it just is again a sign of how much punishment such ships can sometimes take, and that it is then not so fun for smaller vessels to deal with them. To have a coexistence of those ships is really the special flavor of War Thunder. I like being in a patrol boat, in a destroyer and a light cruiser. They all have their place, but it's the task of Gaijin to really make it a viable option to be in a light cruiser. I had matches where half of our team were in cruisers and destroyers and the entire enemy team was just in patrol boats. They won the game because we couldn't reach the caps in time, and just a few patrol boats behind a rock delayed our advance so long that we lost then the game. And it's not a question of skill, it's a question of team composition. So that's very similar to RRB, where German fighter squadrons just absolutely murder allied teams because they use then the wrong vessels for the task or the winning conditions. And this has to be pointed out, just to give you a prominent example. The same goes for Tank RB. If you have something like a T-95 or a Mouse, you cannot really reach the combat zone or actually maneuver into it, into a capture zone, and that makes all your defensive achievements, like defending yourself against a bunch of other nations' heavy tank and delay their advance to another capture zone, just not that relevant. And I think, again, different game modes are necessary. So here I now try to defend myself with the secondaries. I now switch to the secondaries, and the only thing that I can see is now here the gray box, and this is now a bit like arcade-ish, that I can now shoot just with the range finding, with the informations that I get in this little box, that the target is marked, that it's coming towards me. I see a little bit of smoke and that's now enough to get the hits in, but eventually I will have other problems. So let me know in the comment section what you think about big ships in War Thunder, because people think just because they have then a Yamato, a Bismarck or an Iowa or a Prince of Wales, therefore, that they will be the greatest captains on the sea. I think you really have to learn the game mechanics in all ship types and have to learn the advantages and disadvantages to really become a good captain. Much like you have to make experience in a light tank and a medium tank to become a really great heavy tank commander. Same goes for an SPA driver that has to fly sometimes planes to realize how difficult it is then from the perspective of a plane to actually ground strike, and where to position yourself in an SPA. And so you have to learn all the aspects for yourself, and this is why I personally will play the closed beta of ships, despite all the all the progress getting wiped after it goes into open beta. So those aspects really have to be pointed out, and I would love to see something like heavy cruisers with 8-inch guns and like the German treaty cruisers, Admiral Hipper and something like this are interesting ships, just to play them for once and to see how effective they really are, with the secondary batteries, with the armor scheme, how you can make them use, but then to force them into like this atoll or this conglomerate of strange islands in capture zones. That is just not the greatest thing in my opinion. I don't like this idea to then being bound with big heavy units to hunt for patrol boats. And this is again a design thing. And now the B-25 comes in. I try to dodge here the bombs with maneuvering. 1,000-pound bombs coming down, and now they impact just in a moment. And that was a rear Amarak detonation that blew me up and killed the remaining parts of my crew. So, yeah, after 5 kills, 1 capture zones and many assists and 1 plane getting shot down, I eventually succumbed to the wrath of the enemy's planes, because gunfire alone couldn't sink me. But I think it is again very amusing. What's the damage that I took? A lot of gunfire, 3 torpedoes that did literally no damage, then also a 1-ton bomb, and then a 1,000-pound bomb, and several turret knockouts, and eventually a magazine detonation. So yeah, I think Gaishan has to tweak here a little bit the consistency of the damage models. They have to rework the map design, and before they bring anything more to the game, the core game mechanics must be there so that the actual results that they gather mean something. Overall, Gaijin gets a bigger thumbs up from me for the light cruiser aspect than for the patrol boats aspect, although there is a lot of potential in the patrol boat aspect. That's it for me today. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. Please give this video a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and we'll see each other on the waves of War Thunder.